I truly believe that parks are powerful places. Places where people go and sometimes they don't know really why they're here. But they know it's important to come here.
One of the things I'm struck by here at Mount Rainier is the power of the connections that people have to this place, and it's generational.
The first trip I ever took was a marvelous one. It was the climb of Mount Deception, which is the second highest mountain in the Olympics. And I was hooked from that point on because you get to the top of the mountain and all I saw were all these other mountains to climb.
Just as I see the scenes that are so vivid in my mind of the national parks that we have, I also think in terms of my children, my children's children, and the people that will enjoy these parks far after I'm gone. And I don't want to deprive them of that wonderful feeling I have of an eternity that exists in the parks.
Our national parks, and particularly our big wilderness national parks, are wonderful ecological laboratories. These are pristine places and wonderful places to do science.
You know, there is just not one thing. It's been so many things that the fund has enabled me to do over the years, starting first with the iconic species for the park, which is Roosevelt elk. We're developing a better method to census elk, and to really refine that, we have used money from the fund to purchase modern technology with GPS radio collars. It's an amazing capacity that we could have never done without support from the Washington's National Park Fund.
Washington's National Park Fund has provided vital funding for us to be able to do work that we wouldn't be able to do otherwise, to see things that we wouldn't be able to see otherwise. I work in Lake Crescent, an Olympic National Park, and Lake Crescent is a 650-foot deep lake. It's hard to see into that lake and to do work in the bottom of that lake. And one of the things that Washington's National Park Fund funding has allowed us to do is to purchase a piece of equipment, an ROV, a remote operating vehicle, that allows us to go down to the depths of the lake and to be able to record video and take data down there. It has opened up a world that previously was closed to us. We've been unable to actually see things in that lake since 1938 when the park came into existence.
The biggest impact that Washington's National Park Fund has had on me, the moment I received funding for the PICA project, and that money went directly towards the acquisition and deployment of these temperature data loggers. And this brought this whole project to a new level. It was pioneering science. It had never been done or attempted in the North Cascades. We do have base funding for some of my time, but definitely need another person, and that funding has to come from somewhere. So in order to pull this off, we really could use the outside funding.
So for me, the greatest impacts from Washington's National Park Fund have been on visitor experience.
I know one gap in funding that has been really important that the fund has helped fill is the Aram Scholarship, which has provided funding for search and rescue. We did some high rigging rescue training with that, and it's just kind of advanced training that staff wouldn't normally have available to them. So that's just one example of a way that the fund has helped impact rangers directly at this park.
The Washington's National Park Fund allowed us to reinvent our Junior Ranger program, which previously was a small booklet that we handed out at desks, and which has been revamped into a series of booklets that are age appropriate. We have a 3 to 5, 5 to 8, 8 to 11, and now even a 12+ booklet. And these booklets are incredibly well designed. They're beautiful. In fact, they won a National Association for Interpretation Award for design. And we've had great infrastructure projects like the shelter here at the Diablo Lake Overlook, the Cascades for Kids Corner in the North Cascades National Park Visitor Center.
I think people don't realize just how extensive the volunteer program is here at Mount Rainier National Park.
We have 288 miles of trail at Mount Rainier. volunteer groups come in. A lot of the area businesses have volunteer groups that come up. We rely on those groups to help us get our maintenance done.
3/4 of our budget comes from Washington's National Park Fund, and we could not protect the parks nor serve the visitors to the parks nearly as well without the help of our volunteer program, and in turn, without the help from those who support the volunteer program through donations and participation.
Washington's National Park Fund has enabled Mount Rainier to bring young people into the park through youth programs.
It's so important that we get kids who don't have the experience in the national parks, that they have an opportunity to come here. Because I think once they do, they'll fall in love with them. And we need people to love the parks so that they'll be around in the future.
It is a very energizing experience to be working with the kids. And so for me, there was an aha moment when I recognized that getting the youth involved is what we really had to do. We needed to get the people that are making the impacts to change their behaviors when there is no ranger watching over their shoulder. And working with the kids has been very satisfying that way, that they get it.
How special that is to be out with a group of students and have them see something for the first time. That sort of awe, that magic that happens when they've seen something they haven't ever seen before.
They would have these moments and they would all stop and they would point and they'd go, "Oh, wow!" Because there would be like sunlight streaming down through the trees.
So we were up at Paradise and we were going out on a snowshoe program. And I was going around and I was helping the kids fix their snowshoes, and I came upon a little girl and I noticed she was crying. And I was like, what's wrong? And she told me that she'd never seen snow before.
When I think about the youth programs, I think about our mission for the future generations.
All of us that are working at Mount Rainier won't be here forever. And we need to develop the next group of stewards that will come into the park.
These are the people who inherit these places and need to care for them. And we need to bring the next generation of stewards in, the people that are going to care for these places and support them into the future.
The people that love the parks are a wonderful group of people. They're people that say, I'm going to sustain it in some way, shape, or form. One way is make a legacy of it.
Well, I think a bequest certainly fits the national parks better than almost any other thing you can do. You are saying, I want to invest in something beyond my lifetime, and I can't think of anything that is more permanent than preservation of our national parks.
I believe very sincerely that protecting wild places is key for the human survival, at least for human joy. And so again, I think that I know that we're producing the next generation of stewards of public lands. And that makes me feel very good. You can't go wrong by supporting this effort.
This is your guys' park, and the future of what happens to these parks just completely depends upon how much you care about these places.